All right. See if I got it right this time and started before it went live so I don't look like a weirdo just staring into the camera, waiting. Welcome, everybody. If you want to chat and get your questions answered, become a member. It costs you $5. If you do it on iOS, aka an iPhone, it's going to cost you $7. So don't do that. Do it with Chrome or something like that and save yourself a couple bucks because we never see a dime of it and you save yourself some money. Let's see, where are we starting? We're starting with 800-gallon Ladybird, a little under the weather. We noticed yesterday while feeding her that the side of her mouth is puffed up and red. And I've had that happen before with Hank, my first Mubu puffer, and maybe with Murphy. But when they're chomping clams, I think sometimes they chomp and they go to bite again and it like stabs the side of their mouth and can get infected. So right now there's currently Maricin in there, which is an antibiotic. I think the swelling's gone down today, which is good. And got the lights out just so she can kind of be mellow. And I'm also battling some allergy too. But you can see the camera is right there, and test strips. Because first thing you do when you have a sick fish is you test the water. Even if you tested it like 2 days ago, you start with testing the water so you can go, okay, I know that water is not the problem. So I did that, filmed it, been making a video. It's going to be a multi-tape video. The video I was supposed to make was lots of upgrades and things to the 800-gallon, but we're not doing any of that while getting a fish better. So that video is going to look different, but, you know, it's the real life of Ladybird. 30 months of absorbing knowledge from Corey, and he doesn't know me personally, but the influence is immense, and I consider it an associate degree in aquaculture. Well, aquaculture, in my opinion, is quite different than keeping fish. Similar, and a lot of things are applicable, but at scale, it's much different, and, you know, there's differences, but thank you for the kind sentiment. I also want to warn everybody, if I have to end early, I have been battling my voice for like 4 days now. It might sound a little more gravelly than normal. I've been drinking broth like a madman all day long, trying to get it better, and I thought it was better, and here we are, like, I'm already, I'm 4 minutes into it going, yep, that's going to be a problem. And I got to make sure I actually have a voice for Aquashella next week, so I'll be doing what I can. I don't know. I don't think it's hydration. I don't know what's causing it other than everyone on the internet's like, you need to be doing this. I've been doing a lot of things, been trying a lot of stuff, and probably just more sleep. All right. So if you have a question, throw it into the chat. We'll address it. If you have a topic, even better. I like talking about something a little more in-depth. That's typically what we do on the member show, is you guys ask questions, I rage and rant and educate on something for too long, and then Zinza goes, okay, moving on so we can answer some more questions. And those shows seem to be getting longer and longer and longer, so hopefully you guys will attend one of those. Also, while I'm doing my sales pitch, I guess, this Saturday we have the member-only live show from someone we pay to give a talk. And this one's going to be Chris Lukhaup, the Shrimp King. Worked for Dennerlay many years, invented, the whole Shrimp King line of foods. And he, if you don't know this, he's one of the people that was instrumental in even starting the nanotank movement. He's published so many things. He's kind of, considered to be a wizard when it comes to all things kind of crayfish and shrimp. He's got publications on, I think he's working on another book. I'm good friends with Oliver Knott, and I'll be speaking on shrimp. And the reality is, he doesn't even have to speak on shrimp. He is one of those people that will fascinate you. If you met him in public, you'd be like, this guy is super interesting. From his legit rock career, traveling the world, or traveling the world while doing rock, and then also investigating crayfish and shrimp and all of that. And it's kind of funny that most people would, maybe have their claim to fame be like, oh, I was in this, fairly famous band and all of that, but instead it's like he doesn't talk about the tour he was on. That is like an afterthought. He's like, oh, but there, when we were in Jakarta, there was this crayfish that I discovered, and those kinds of things. And so it's very interesting and animated. He's got, he has been a photographer of this stuff for a very long time. And so he's got amazing pictures and video, and he's got habitats that I obviously I've never seen, but I don't know that anyone has really ever seen outside of the pictures he's taken in the general public, And so before COVID, I was supposed to do some traveling with him, go to, the one place I want to go to was Papua New Guinea. He's been there. It's rough, as in, there's gangs, there's headhunters, there's everything trying to kill you, from animals to people and all of that. But one video in particular that I saw was like a 30-second clip, and it was just rainbow fish, specifically Bozeman rainbow fish, in nature, like they're meant to be, in a giant school. And the water, think of like a National Geographic or something like that, where you see like a giant school of fish in the ocean, except it was a freshwater fish that you've kind of known, kept, bred, sold, all of that. And that's just commonplace in his talks and things like that. So definitely, I'll be trying to tune in live. A lot of times I get conflicts going, but I will be watching it for sure. I highly recommend checking it out if you're already a member. If you're not a member, you can watch all the talks and that kind of stuff. And it's, I don't know. He's a very entertaining gentleman, and I can't wait for it. So hopefully you guys will enjoy it as well if you haven't seen him or interact with him before. Mix has got the Murphy badge. Well, congratulations. I have a 3-gallon cube tank. Do you think it would be suitable for raising Sterbai Cory fry until they're big enough to go in with the parents? Only if it's like 8 or 9, like a number that's manageable. If you're like, oh, I've got 72 fry, like, I definitely would, a limited number, sure. And, I think every day that goes on, we get further and further away from what is possible. And what I mean by that is, it used to be commonplace, small tanks, right? We use small tanks, we raise fry, and we do all those. And over time, it's like, well, a 5-gallon is better than a 3-gallon. And then over time, well, a 10-gallon is better than a 5-gallon, and 20 and 40 and 50 and 100 and so on. And so, it used to be very common to raise fry in a gallon pickle jar. Not for long times, doing lots of water change and lots of manual labor, but it was a commonplace thing that was done out of lack of options. So when a question like that is asked, yes, it can definitely be done, but I don't know that I would just follow normal conventional wisdom, because that wisdom is now assuming, maybe larger tanks, different equipment, and all of that. So definitely can be done. Keep a close eye, do some learning. No alert till now? Well, if you've signed up for the text messages down below, you'll get a text message whenever I send one, which usually I pick somewhere between 5 and 20 minutes before I go live. And otherwise you got to work with YouTube settings, and they can be finicky. If you're not watching us enough, they don't send it. If YouTube just has a brain fart like half the time, then they won't send it. So, luckily we've been on a streak kind of Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Man, my brain's not here today. 2 years of being a NERM. Thanks for making my unexpected COVID home office a fish oasis. Yeah, I'm actually talking with Dean a lot, and I'm gonna change the fish room. I'm thinking of downsizing in the amount of vessels, and then doing more displays that I'll enjoy. On one hand, I have a daydream of like, what if I just had like 5 aquariums that I loved? which I know will grow because I'll be like, well, I want to love 7 of them or 9 of them or 10 of them. On the other hand, what I'm disappointed with my fish room currently is it kind of became a dumping ground. A lot of things just show up in my fish room of like, yeah, I guess I can take that off your hands for now. And I was making it easy for other people. So there's things like discus in there right now. I've got normal red bristlenose plecos. I've got super red bristlenose plecos. I've got green dragons. I've got my own colony of Barbatus Corydoras, and then I have an adult colony that was given to me. They're not cohabitating. I've got 2 tanks of Cyprichromis where the shipment went bad, and I've kind of just left with onesies, twosies that might never be enough to breed, and they're different types, so I can't combine them. I've got like 3 or 4 different strains of Endlers, and just things like that where it's like financially they would produce money, but I don't do that for the money, and so I need to rehone the reason why I'm doing it. And there are species that I like, the teacup platies. I'm really enjoying them. They're beautiful in the pond. They look great. I haven't brought any of them to the store because I don't even want to sell them. That's going great. But then there's things of like, well, okay, I've got like normal Endlers. I think I have Tiger Endlers. I have Blue Silverado Endlers. I've got El Tigre Endlers. And then I've got also like Panda Guppies that kind of fall into that too. And I could definitely slim down to 1 or 2 of those and be just fine with that. So yeah. Not sure what size tanks and what exactly I'm doing yet, but I do know I'm going to do some swapping around in there. What do you think about the Woodbox Aquariums? They're builders popping up everywhere for them. Let me digest this. What do you think about Woodbox Aquariums? They're builders popping up everywhere for them. I don't know what a Woodbox Aquarium is. Let me Google it. Yeah, all I see is like plywood tanks and things. If that's what we're talking about, familiar. Something else, I'm unfamiliar. But for me, I'm not a fan of plywood tanks because I would never trust myself to build one. And if I was paying someone else to build one, you don't save a lot. The price of wood has gone up a ton, so it's not even like a super cheap option. What else? I like more viewing panels. I would like, I like to view a tank at least 3 sides. So yeah, if you chime in and it's something else, I will definitely Google that. But I don't know what the Woodbox aquarium type thing is outside of that. Let me drink while I can. Stay hydrated. Ooh, finally we got a Canadian member. Sorry, I was burping. Nanobox was waiting for 2 years to become a member till I shipped to Canada, but he caved today. Well, I've got news. Now that you finally caved, we will never ship to Canada. It was a stalemate. Now, I actually had a meeting on Monday. We're pushing forward with a 3rd company. Why not? Because company number 2 is filled with, oh, don't worry, we're working on it. Well, we've been hearing that for like 6 weeks, so we're going to get 2 companies working in tandem. So then we can be disappointed twice as often. Yeah, I mean, I did think that, so Woodbox could actually be Waterbox Aquariums, but I don't think a lot of people would be building them, only Waterboxes. From what I know about Waterbox, which isn't a whole lot, like I've seen them at events and like some of the like retailer events and things like that, they're just a company that's bringing in rimless tanks. They've got a good marketing team behind them, and they seem to be quality and all of that. Whether I've never really done price shopping on them. They seemed seemingly higher end, like they want to be, and I say want to be, doesn't mean they're not as good or better because I don't know. It seems like they're going after the crowd of like an ADA style tank. That being said, I really hate rimless tanks. I am not a fan at all. And yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about getting a fish tank on my desk because I've got a new office a different office that is not here, so I can like game and stuff, or just have a different environment. I want to watch my pond and look at my yard. Basically, is what it comes down to. All right, so thinking about getting an aquarium there, and then I thought like, well, maybe I should just design my own aquarium, have them made, and then we'll sell them in the store and that kind of stuff. And the only thing I really knew about it is 100% not interested in rimless, because a good desktop aquarium, and I was thinking about doing a video on this, a good desktop aquarium has a lid. Like the number one thing is low maintenance on a good desktop aquarium. And not having a lid, number one thing to have to do a bunch of maintenance. So, yeah. How do you get Frontosas to breed? Lots of time. Obviously, you have to have a colony that has males and females. Lots and lots and lots of time, usually 3+ years till you even remotely have a chance. The good news is, once they do start breeding at that age, they're the easiest to handle. So if you get them at that, like they're this big, you can kind of trap down the dorsal, remove babies, and do all of those. However, right, once they get large, that dorsal fin gets huge, and it's like these big needles and can really stab you. So, but most fish are, especially African cichlids, feed them well, change some water, give them time, will make more. Assuming you have a good female-male ratio and your tank is set up correctly so that there's not aggression all the time. Most fish are that way though. And it's a very simplistic answer of like, to put it in another perspective, well, how do you get this great looking yard? It's so green, it's so lush, there's no weeds. And the answer is, oh, well, spend a lot of time on your yard. Like, pull the weeds when you see them. Cut the grass often. Don't cut it too short. Make sure it stays watered so that weeds don't outcompete when in the dry season. Like, there's all these little things, but really what it comes back to is the basics of like, oh yeah, well, feed it, take care of it, and it'll look really good. And most times we're creatures of neglect for most things, just as humans. And it's like, oh, well, it's still fine. Like the yard's fine. I get to walk on it, played soccer on it, could do anything I want on it. And then there's the people that specialize in it. And that's kind of what a breeder would do, is like, well, I fed it, I took care of it, I did the maintenance, and I made sure that roughly parameters were good, and then the thing takes care of itself after that. And Frontosas, definitely African cichlids, are mostly that way. I ordered the new Aquariumcoop air pump. That's right. You hear that? That's the sound of awesome. It actually probably sounds way too loud because it doesn't have any air tubing on it. It'd be more like that probably. But yes, we've been reading the criticisms, which I do. So one criticism was not a long enough USB cord. Oh wait, I turned it into this power saving mode. There we go. Yes, I agree. We did think about this. And so my thought process on this, so maybe you have one, you're like, yeah, that cord was short. Our logic was, we think most people have micro USB cords laying around. If you needed a longer one, you may already own one from a previous phone or other gadget. B, they're fairly cheap on Amazon. Our goal was, well, let's not make 5,000 10-foot long USB cords when they could be like 3 feet and save like the planet a little bit. Now that being said, we've heard people kind of loud and clear, well, not loud and clear, there's only 8 reviews, right? And like 2 people are like, wanted a longer cord. So we'll probably make the cord longer in a future order of these. The other thing that I thought was a very, very valid criticism, and I don't remember who it was, but kudos. was that we used micro USB instead of Type-C connector. And as a consumer, 100% I am in that boat. Every time something isn't Type-C, I'm like, dang it. Now I got to go find something to charge this. So I put in the request that with the new, because we're switching manufacturers, by the way. With the new manufacturer, we're waiting on some prototypes and stuff. But with the new manufacturer, I want to see what does it cost to upgrade to Type-C. You know, if it balloons the cost, then I can at least tell you guys, hey, this thing costs $10 more now. Like, whoa, okay, I'll use a micro USB. But yeah, so far feedback's been basically positive, and that's good to hear. I don't think people would know unless you've done it how nerve-wracking launching a product like this is. Yes, there's tons of money, but the money, we can make more money. If we send 5,000 of these out and they disappoint 5,000 of our customers, that's really hard to get back. And so that is actually the scariest part. But it's good to know that, like, I checked up on the, in the meeting, like, how's it going? Okay, everyone seems to be roughly liking it. There's some critiques, how to make it better. That's fine. There's always, like, why isn't this diamond encrusted? There's always ways to make it better. But making sure that, okay, it's at least doing what we said it was going to do to start with. Great. All right. Hello from Colorado. Don't have a question, just wanted to say the club membership has been totally worth it, and I've learned a ton. We're good. And I will say, it's worth different amounts to different people. So, have a high-paying job, $5 isn't a whole lot. If you're a 9-year-old kid and you get $5 a month allowance, that's a ton of money, right? And you can be buying fish. So I realize, and I'm glad to see when it's good value for people. That's always a warm, fuzzy feeling for me. And we try really hard. So, and I think disproportionately, people in the U.S. get an advantage. I agree when it comes to memberships. That being said, every time I'm looking at how can we give back to our international crowd, and I will find a way. Once we're shipping to international, yes, I will. I don't know if it's going to be like, hey, look, here's an extra discount for a year, or you can buy this at a cheaper rate than the U.S. people to make up for lost time. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'll find a way. Maybe it's a outside USA only special sticker or patch, or I don't know what it'll be yet. But I definitely recognize the people that have been supporting us a long time through memberships, and they can't order from us and all of that. I definitely appreciate, and we do reward people that have been buying from us a long time. And we're trying to make it fun for everybody. That's the end goal. I don't want to talk about business too much. I always start talking about too much business. So my air pump is in the bedroom. Any way to turn the light off? I love it, but I cover it with electrical tape. Yeah, I think that's going to be the only answer there. I've run into that with a lot of electronics where, like, while running, they just have a light. And I think covering it up is the only real solid thing I've got. Maybe we can ask, like, on this circuit board, can we have a thing that the light turns off after 20 seconds? But they might just look at me like I'm crazy. How can you tell if a fish is dying of old age? I've got a 2-year-old Fricata rainbow that is getting sluggish for the last 2 weeks. Quarantined, but no obvious signs of illness. Well, a Fricata rainbow isn't that long-lived of a fish. Kind of like 3 years, kind of an old, gonna die fish, and you've had it for 2 already. But yeah, sluggish, maybe not eating as well, maybe curvature of the spine, maybe losing some of the color or luster on its scales. Maybe you see that like other fish are kind of beating up on it or getting the lion's share of food. Basically, changes in behavior like that will clue you into going, okay, something's going on here. And unfortunately, there's not a whole lot you can do about it. So you kind of just got to let nature take its course of like, yeah, well, you're getting old. So maybe spend more time with it. That's, about all you can do. Running 4 air pumps now. Had to replace the cords on Amazon. You might want to carry them. So my logic was this. Most people install an air pump in the bottom of their cabinet, and you run the air line up to your thing. I realize most might only be 60%, but I did not think there would be that many people needing a long cord, because most people install it down their cabinet near a power strip. So I would say it's an oversight on my part. The other thing that won't matter to you guys, but this has been ready to go and in production and all of that, like well before a lot of our other products where we just started putting ridiculously long cords on them. So, it's one of those like, well, we'll have to get there, and the price will raise for us. I don't know how much by making a longer cord. That, like, everything's got a cost, so we shall see. Hopefully it's a minimal cost and it won't change the sale price at all. The co-op heater, the update on that would be, we think we'll get it late March. The scratch and dent purchase, pictures, Jimmy took some initial pictures yesterday. We've got them uploaded. I've been testing the software so that only YouTube members can see that. If we're lucky, maybe next week. Otherwise, maybe the week after. There's still some other tweaks I got to do right now to it, but that program is moving forward. So rest assured, you guys will be able to save some money. I think right now, the way it's going to work is scratch and dent product. Do I have anything that would fall under that? Not really. But all the products are guaranteed to work, and they'll hold the same warranty as anything we would normally sell. But normally it's like the box, like, well, here's this Anchor box, right? So if we were selling this, and this was a, like one brand new off the shelf, it would look like this. However, sometimes in shipping or maybe we're just opening a box and we cut it, but maybe it would be like this, right? So literally nothing has happened to the inside of it, but if we ship this out to you at full price, you're not going to be happy. So we're discounting all of this kind of stuff at 15%, and things like open box returns and all of that, 15%, and they're clearly labeled. And then you'll still save 5% on top of that. So it's essentially you save like 20% for a damaged package good. But it would carry the exact same warranty and all of that, and so you don't have to fret. We just know that even in the store, you can have both sitting there, and it's like, well, that package just kind of tore up. I'm gonna take the new one, right? Humans do that. So there you go. I'm an Anchor fanboy. Yep, me too. I use a lot of their stuff. I don't have a lot of it around me, but I do like that brand. What are the future plans for the big pond out back? Do you still plan on redoing the deck out there? And if there are any rough timelines? So I'm definitely spending more time looking at it. Like today, there was a heron hunting fish. Didn't see him get any fish or anything like that, but I do wonder if we'll have any fish come summer. So if we do, I'm kind of revitalizing it. If we don't, now I'm at a crossroads like, well, what do I do with this thing? Do I just let it be rad for like frogs? Maybe do I get a turtle for it? The things I want to do kind of regardless, I want to add oxygen, maybe a little bit of lighting out there. Not a ton, like I don't want it to be a disco, but it is pitch black out there at night where you just stare off into the abyss of nothing. And I think it would be cool because we can, when it snowed and stuff, you'd see like the coyote tracks and different animals and all of that. I would love to get a glimpse of, oh, look at that. There's, there's the animals down there. Might not be able to recognize them, but it'd be fun. Did the same heron follow you to my new place? I don't know. I haven't had a sit-down meeting with Moriarty yet to see if he knows where I live, but probably. I've got a spare 10-gallon. I just started in the hobby. I only have I only have a 10-gallon that has 5 Ember Tetras and 3 Emerald Cory Cats. Any recommendations for the new 10-gallon? I want to try breeding. I'm leaning towards Endlers. You could look into our Breeding Fish for Profit series. You could look into the 10 different videos we have on 10-gallon tank suggestions. It'll give you fish, but also fish combos. I realize what's going on. What's bothering me is the angle or the. I swear. Let me fix this. Right there. There we go. I was like, this is because I have another screen with myself in it. And I'm like, this angle is not correct. And Jimmy was in here filming some B-roll, and I think he was playing with the camera. Maybe it's all in my head, but that's what I feel like. But yes, lots of videos, and Endlers are a great one. I also like just a shrimp-only 10-gallon. That's definitely on the possible agenda for my desktop tank. Not necessarily 10 gallons, but shrimp. A Moriarty emoji. That'd be good. If Jimmy's listening, we really do need to crank out some more emojis. They're just really difficult. The amount of time that goes into making an emoji that you can be like, what is that supposed to be at that small is absurd. I've complained to YouTube about it, but yeah, you'd be surprised. It's easier to make a video than it is to make an emoji. It is not, like the candy one that just got posted. Went through 8 versions to get to oh yeah, that kind of says candy on it, doesn't it? Yeah. Have I ever tried wire mesh to make a moss wall in any aquarium? I've seen it scrolling through Amazon. Looks interesting. I have. In fact, there's a video somewhere of me doing it with needlepoint plastic mesh, and the problems that I encountered was you have a light up top, and over time your moss starts growing. And the closest to the light grows the fastest. Starts shading the one below. Also, as this starts growing longer, it gets closer to the light, you get more algae, and algae gets entrenched in there. So I think it's a difficult thing to pull off and really look good. Not impossible, but just know that the dream of this is going to be amazing, it's a lot of work. It's kind of like that lawn scenario of yeah, if you work with it 3 times a week, you'll have an amazing moss background. If you buy one and walk away and just check it out a month from now, it's an algae farm. So, yeah. Tips on what type of YouTube videos might pop off. I tend to make videos that I enjoy to make and might not be what the average person is searching. So this is more of a business channel question, but the long and short of it is nobody searches YouTube anymore. And by nobody, I realize everybody searches YouTube, but so YouTube is not a searching platform anymore like it was. It's now Netflix. So when you open Netflix on a TV, most times you go bloop, 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 and go what's new, what's trending, all of this kind of stuff, and you find something to watch. You search, sometimes if your buddy says, ooh, you gotta watch Yellowstone, or you gotta watch whatever they just finished watching, right? You'll hit the search button, you'll type that in, boom. But rarely do people in Netflix go, well, let's search gangster movies, or let's search love movies, or whatever it's gonna be, right? That's kind of died out from algorithms, right? And YouTube's the same way. We don't really go like, well, let me just, it's so saturated now that you don't just go like, let me just search up planted aquariums. You just don't. You kind of like, you might get one initial search in, and then it'll start feeding you stuff and doing that. So first and foremost, I don't think focusing on a search strategy is the way to grow on YouTube. And as far as videos that might pop off, as you put it, I don't focus on that either. There have been creators who focus on that. They tend to go away over time because you can't replicate that all the time. One of my I guess favorite creators, honestly, is AquaPros. And he for a long time would do better views wise and things like that than I would. And at one point in like the 200,000s, he was ahead of me. And then over time, though, as the algorithms change and as people's tastes change and things like that, he kind of, as we kind of call it, would swing for the fence. Like put out a video, put a ton of time into it, put a ton of effort into it, and when it hit, great, 1 million plus views. When it didn't hit, 10,000 views. And for a creator that size, that's really rough, right? Because you might have put in thousands of dollars to doing it and weeks and all of that. But what I actually love about his videos are the science videos and the testing he does and that type of thing. And, so Mike's still making videos and, he went on with that trend for a long time and it kind of hurt his channel. What I really think YouTube is about nowadays is a person. So you enjoy watching the person and learning maybe about their life. So you guys know about my business, you know about my dogs. Some of you guys and girls know that I went camping on the Get Outdoors channel. You know Candy in the chat, you know Zenzo in the chat, you know Jimmy, you know Robert, you know some of my other employees, you know Dean. We've worked to build a community and things like that. So there's a reason to come to us because we have something that you want to be a part of. When you're just making videos, that's really hard to pull off. Like what is going to be so engaging that people that don't know me want to be a part of this? Very difficult. And so I find building a community to be the way to do that. The people that are successful usually were either A, first adopters, so they got in early, they built a big audiences, and that kept them going. Or B, they've worked on crafting a community that is self-sustainable. So things like our forum, they kind of run on their own. Yes, we participate in them, but they keep going. The chat here, you guys will have lots of conversations going. I kind of think YouTube in general, and people can feel free to agree or disagree, and you guys as viewers and not necessarily creators have your own thing, but I think YouTube is mostly a big list of what not to do. Don't start a podcast, don't live stream all the time, there's so many things not to be doing. And yeah, so focus on, so you said you like to make content that you enjoy. I do think there's something special there because I know with our videos, when I'm really enjoying, maybe I'm on location filming somewhere I hadn't seen before, there's a magic there that doesn't exist without that. So that's important. Hopefully other people are into what you're into. But then also, if you're trying to make this a career or something like that, it's very, very difficult. And most people will just say, you're just trying to make sure people don't get into the scene. No, I'm trying to make sure you don't end up broke. It's very difficult. And I have an advantage that we got in earlier. Like we've been doing, I want to say let me look. I think our oldest video is 8 years old now. That's an unfair advantage to have traction. Let me see. Let me sort my videos by oldest. That is an unfair advantage. And there's people that, had 5+ years on me before I even started. So it's not impossible. Just know, yeah, my first video on the channel is 9 years now. 9 years ago. So to think about that, that's crazy to me to even think about. But, so my tips are avoid a lot of those things that don't actually get you traction and work on building an actual community. And At the same time, though, know that your community doesn't know what's best. And what I mean by that is they can give you feedback. Do they like it? Don't they like it? And that kind of stuff. But if I was to ask my members, what video should I make next? 25% are going to say, oh, you should do an unboxing. 25% are going to be like, you should go to Peru. 25% will say, you know, make a new video about something I'm interested in. And so it's very difficult. So you kind of have to read the audience and push forward and do something that you enjoy, find something that you can work on getting better on. And then if there's a bunch of luck mixed in, you start growing and things like that. Now, there are ways you can just become a product of YouTube. You could really be leaning into shorts, and you could be doing things that don't educate and would straight up just get you views, right? Like, you know, for lack of a better example, you can smash aquariums that are filled with fish with hammers, right? That's going to get you views, but does that build that community, right? Does that get you to what you're trying to actually accomplish as opposed to just getting views? So there's a big difference between views and building a community, and most advertisers don't understand that. Most fans don't understand. Well, actually, the fans understand the community part, but they don't understand that someone over here that gets 50 million views a month, but if they're all shorts and very topical content, won't survive in a world long term versus someone who might only get 1 million views a month, but those viewers keep coming back and they want to stay with that creator. So kind of long-winded stuff, but you know, I don't want to see that person. I've seen people quit their jobs and do other things and go for it and it not work out, and sometimes it causes relationship issues and all that, and it's not fun to watch happen for people. So my video seems to be zooming and focusing by 5% intermittently. This is the thing that Jimmy and I have been trying to figure out, by the way. Yeah, I don't see it doing it, and he doesn't see it doing it either, but people say. Great example of listen to your audience. Like, clearly, a lot of people have mentioned this to us. See, I can see that it does it there, like, but I really tried with the hand talking. It's not doing it now. So I tried to simulate talking with my hands. Why isn't it doing it? And is it this? If I rock back and forth, is that it? It's not doing it. So we're struggling a little bit. I upgraded the lighting. We'll figure it out. And I apologize that, you know, I really do strive for quality for you guys. So hopefully I'll get that figured out. Clickbait. Yeah, clickbait. Essentially, clickbait is what TikTok is now, which that's not fair, but I guess in my mind, how TikTok is like clickbait is, I want something usually educational, fulfilling, not this bite size, right? And so in a way, it's like, ooh, that was amazing, but I wish I could have seen the whole version. And so that kind of thought process, though, of what I call attention at any cost, right? It's very hard to sustain long term. So we'll see. We'll see if, you know, in 5 years is TikTok all the rage and everybody still only wants short form content, or was that a fad? And by creating a vacuum of long form content, is that now back in fashion? We will see. I bought a bunch of mystery snails to trade. Oh, I brought, not bought, brought a lot of mystery snails to trade at my local fish store in the Co-op collection cup. They tried to keep my container. I pointed to the logo. It's a great container and or item, I suppose I should say. But yeah, I'd be angry because those things aren't cheap. Not angry. Angry is the wrong word. I don't get angry too often with people. I would be turn my back fan on. It's hot in here. I would just make sure I was going home with that thing. Must be challenging not knowing everyone when they all know a lot about you. 750K subscribers. What will the old man Cory be saying when he looks back on his time of YouTube? Probably won't miss it. I will be very proud of what it allowed us to do as a company and how many people we helped and all of that. But it's a very grueling process that it's how do I say it? I mean, you watch a lot of people burn out and just not make it, and even the people that do make it burn out and all of that. So it's a lot of self-reflection of like just how do you get through it, right? And I probably won't miss that part, honestly. I really miss working inside the retail store. There's a lot of things I miss that I'm kind of removed from at this point. But yeah, don't know if I'll miss that part. Feeling better about Aquashella these days? Watched a video from back where you were displeased with the direction they were headed? No, not really. The funny part is, like, they'll freak out that I even said that, but for me, proof's in the pudding, right? And so, if I'm being honest, I told them I didn't want to be a speaker, and they said, well, we don't really want you if you're not going to be a speaker. Essentially, how it came down to it. So I was like, fine, I'll speak, but I'm not just going to give a talk because I could just do a video and people could watch it. Like, that doesn't make sense. So we're going to do more of a game show type thing. And I believe still that, like, at least on the freshwater side, I don't remember there being any educational speakers. And the definition of that for me is, like, it's not that other people that are speaking aren't educational, but they already have a platform. Like Katie Tropicals, you can see him every week live. You can watch videos from him every week, just like me, right? But where's the Gary Langs, the Oliver Knotts, the Chris Lukhaups, the all the aquascapers? Where's all of these people that don't have active platforms that have something to teach? Where's maybe even Dean? But Dean, he could be on video. But where are the Dean-like people? Why not half of the Florida people that own a fish farm, right? What about someone who owns a plant farm? We're in Orlando, Florida, right? No shortage of people that really know this trade. There's all of these things. And so I'm still sad that we don't have those people. Now, I could maybe argue there's a little bit more on the saltwater side because there's like Jake Adams and a few people that are kind of doing more of like a bloggy type educational thing. But even then, they still kind of have a platform, but not a video platform or a on-stage platform. So yeah, in that aspect, I still, that's one of my biggest things is education. You guys know that. And so I feel like there's still a lot we could do with education. We could make the event better on the shrimp contest. We can make it better on, like with the shrimp contest, it's America only or USA only. And it is a shard of what the aquatic experience shrimp contest was. The complaint was nobody in the US really won outside of Lucas Brett's on a few things. And so they wanted USA people to be able to have a chance. So now, as hobbyists, we get to see arguably worse quality shrimp on display because the people that are doing the really cutting edge and having the best stuff aren't allowed to participate. So I feel like we lose out as a hobby. Not only those genes aren't entering the hobby, there's all these other things to it. And so why would you participate, Cory? Why? Because I believe that my voice is dying. I believe that if you want to see something, you have to be part of the change and the action. So if I go there and I keep nudging them towards what I think is going to be better, and I'm not always right. So they could be perfectly legit that, Cory, you got these other speakers and you do all these things and no one wants to attend, and it's their money, right? But I think if I'm there and I'm trying to guide to what I think is going to be a better event, maybe we'll get there. And I'm sitting down with some people, on one of the days, and we'll try that. And we'll see, is it going to get better? Am I going to do the next Aquashella or won't I? Because I have a big decision coming. I have basically an Aquashella and the Triple Crown event in the same month. And in Kentucky. Triple Crown. I gotta put fish in there. But my guess, if they have, let's see. I want to see who they have speaking if I can see. That's what I'm trying to get to right now. If it'll load, come on, we're all live on the internet. Here we go. Phew. It's loading. Let's see. Okay, here's one of them, right? One of the speakers, Sandy Moore. Shocking. She's in Florida, right? I'm pretty sure Seagrass Farm's in Florida. But we could have had her speak, right? At an Aquashella. They've got Dr. Tim Hovanek. He's the founder of Dr. Tim's Aquatics, right? They've got, I don't know this guy, but Daniel Kahn Vetterleen. Dr. Paul Eisel. Like, that's another huge person in the hobby. See if I have any other ones. Ad Konings. I've seen him talk. It's amazing, right? He wrote like the books basically on African cichlids, and he's doing a lot of philanthropy projects and stuff like that. I'm gonna keep clicking through here. You know what I don't see though? I don't really see YouTubers, and that's kind of okay. There's one kind of. Well, no, he's not. Never mind. And I think that is the correct method. So that was just the ACA. There's like 4 different clubs, I think, all coming together. So they're all going to have different featured talks and stuff. But I think that's the perfect marriage, right? Let YouTubers like myself go attend some of these talks, learn from some of the greatest minds that have been working on this stuff their whole lives. And then I can also be more educated when I talk to the fans. Let these fans directly ask questions of some of the greatest minds in our hobby. I think that is very important to these shows that I really don't want to see fade away. I don't think for a second that I am more knowledgeable on, let's say, rainbow fish than Gary Lang, than running a wholesale facility than Sandy Moore, than shrimp than Chris Lukhaup, right? I am a jack of all trades. Like, I know a little bit about a lot of things, and that lets me field a lot of questions. But I think for continued education for us as a hobby and moving forward and making sure that people get to unload this lifetime work to other people so they can carry on and get interested, right? I think that's very important. And so I would love to see that really become part of the Aquashella, I guess, mission statement. You know, it's not the glamorous part, and I know that. Putting on a rad show and all of that, that's the part that really makes money. But I do believe that what keeps the hobby going, gets people more passionate and all of that, is that educational underbelly. All right, so let me see where I've got. Is Keystone Clash that same month also? Yikes. I don't know if it is, but yeah. So anyway, I haven't committed to those events yet. I know you guys have been asking. Next weekend, I'll be at Aquashella. We'll have our talks. We'll try to see what makes sense. It's hard. You've got, I have local clubs that would love us to come out. I have events we'd like to put on. I have Aquashella. I have Triple Crown. I have other, come out here, do this. You've never been to here before. All those statements are true. Let's see. Why would you want to win anyway if you only win because the people better than you aren't allowed to compete? What is that a reply to something or something I said? Let me think. Why would I want to win? Not sure what. That might be to another statement that I don't know. How's the planning going for our Twin City Guppies trip? Any member perks there? Yeah, I'm sure we will do some member perks. I don't know that we've planned it out necessarily, but I believe we're having a dinner. I believe we're going to be, it's a Saturday event. I don't know if King Lee and Twin City Guppies are doing anything extra special. I told them make sure you have a lot of fish and all that. I would imagine a decent amount of people are going to show up. Jimmy will actually be out there this weekend filming, I believe. So, if you want to stop in and get in there and, meet Jimmy and, what I would say though, if you're going to go to somewhere that the Aquarium Co-op will be, please spend money there. Not with us. Just spend money. So if you go to Twin City Guppy store, buy some food, maybe fall in love with a fish, whatever it is, but like they're gracious enough to host us and allow us to come and film. And yes, it's going to end up promoting them, right? But we want to be gracious about it, and we want to make sure that we're not just utilizing their space and they get nothing for it. So, and that goes for anything. Anytime you're part of something that essentially becomes free. Yeah. Ooh, Tazawa Tank says, in all fairness, Chris Lukhaup was going to be a speaker at Aquashella, but couldn't attend due to international travel challenges. That is fair. I will admit when I'm wrong, and that means I am wrong. I still believe we could stack up more than one educational speaker. That being said, one is more than none, and that is a good step in the right direction. So I do tip my hat to that. And I am sad that Chris won't be there because I love hanging out with that guy. What type of filters is Justin running on the majority of his tanks? I don't know if he's running filters on a lot of them. I think just air stones and plants. There are some tanks that they had like above tank filters. I don't know if they're DIY'd or not. I haven't been in a little while, so I'd have to really kind of take stock and I'd have to look past all the plants, which is hard to do. What would my recommendation be for someone who is breeding from home and doesn't want to make YouTube videos for the reasons you mentioned? What's the best way to advertise your stock? Aquabid, eBay, both those, very easy to find buyers. That's what I would do. Yes. The other thing you could do if you really want to get into that, you could send your fish to YouTubers and they make videos on them and get you going. But I think something like Aquabid would work out well. What's the deal with Tropica plants? Tropica plants primarily started in Europe. They were, well, they still are, a very good plant vendor in Europe. Amazing. I've been to the farms. Really good. That being said, they expanded to Canada. Oh, my auto feeder's going off. They expanded to Canada and are expanding into the US, but their selection is very minimal comparatively, and they're not near, well, I don't know if they're not price competitive. They're the most expensive plants I could buy, and when I did test them, they had problems getting them to me, and the quality wasn't where we needed it to be, and we didn't get those warm fuzzies, and we were supposed to be in on like the ground floor because we were talking with them and stuff before they ever opened the greenhouse in Canada, and that never came to fruition. But for the most part, it's a lot easier for them to do the tissue culture plants, which we don't sell. It's easier for them to cross the border. The reason they opened up in Canada was because you can basically send plants to Canada, grow them for 2 generations, and then you can sell them in Canada and in the United States, and it's kind of a workaround instead of shipping directly to America. So, yeah, that's about all I know about Tropica. How come Dean doesn't join you two? Well, we're testing out a nimble trip. And so we land like Friday afternoon and we leave Sunday afternoon. And if I can do this trip and get back to work on Monday as normal, we can do a lot more events. But when you start going, okay, well, let's land Thursday and let's leave Monday, it's now a 4-day thing. The more people you have with you, the more work it ends up becoming, typically. You got to make sure everybody's eating. You got to make sure everyone's got a place to stay. You got to make sure who's doing what, where are they doing this, what is going on. And so our goal is to hyper focus on basically doing our booth and all of that kind of stuff, getting through that. We'll have Extreme there. Irene will be there on Saturday. And then getting back out, evaluating, going, yeah, that wasn't so bad. We could do, and if that goes really well, now all of a sudden it's like, well, maybe we could do a back-to-back event where we do the Triple Crown and Aquashella in the same month, back-to-back weekends. So that's mostly why we're traveling light, and there's not many people going with us at all. It's Randy and I. There's no Jimmy even. Taking my new toy Zenzo this time. Zenzo has to do a lot of work. Zenzo has got to bring the booth. We purchased and designed an entire new Aquarium Co-op booth, which I think is going to really impress you guys. It looks really good. So he's got to lug that thing. We got some signage we got to lug. We've got, if he can shoulder a lot of that burden, the hope is that it will lead to more events. So that is our goal. Whether that plans out that way, we'll see. But as you start adding people to the crew, all of a sudden multiple vehicles, right? And ordering food takes longer, and all of these things exponentially take longer. You do get benefits from it too, but we're trying this. And the other thing too is, if you take a crew of 6 people to every event, all of a sudden it costs way more, especially if you're trying to go, well, let's do twice as many events now. So how is the store expansion going? The person to ask is actually Corvus Oskin. He's doing the work on it. We're waiting for the new Murphy tank, a 1450, to be done. Hopefully the stand's going to the powder coaters this week. We're waiting for more tanks to be built for the actual store. And there's actually a chance that we're actually grabbing another space to the left of it, hopefully. And so we might be changing our plan and going 3 times as big instead of only twice as big. So a lot's up in the air, and it's taking longer to build than we'd like. But it's not really on us. Ordering tanks back in June of last year that we're supposed to be having a 6-week turnaround, and here we are in February and not having those tanks. I mean, short of like, I better start ordering tanks because I might expand 5 years from now. Like, there's only so much, only so much pre-gaming you can do. Do you think you and Dean could ever go back to keeping display tanks? Or is breeding ingrained now? I definitely could go back to, my display tanks always try to have some breeding, like, hey, look, the guppies are making more, right? However, I do think I'm going back towards that, I want to be more display-y than not, because it makes filming videos easier. I like looking at them, makes it easier for me to look at. And as always, once you've done it, you want something else. So it'll be fun to change it up. And we haven't even fully finished this yet, but we saw some of these things coming where it's like, this wall, it's got these ponds, but maybe they should have been big tanks. And it's like, well, I don't have big tanks right now. Yeah, we'll just do the ponds for now, and we can swap that out later. Some of the things were designed of like, yeah, we can make that swap. I need relationship advice. I'm not the one to ask for relationship advice. Yeah, the other thing that we need to learn at Aquashella is, so we've got a bunch of merch landing. We got to get that ready, right? So we got to get the sweats ready and the shirt ready, which they're still right here. So imagine if you guys have ever seen us in an event, normally we bring 1,000 shirts, and that is a massive stack of boxes. This is 3,000 shirts. So it's going to be a little nutty. Like, I think they have to deliver it in like a U-Haul. So there's that, right? And then we're going to have stacks of the Aquarium Co-op member sweatpants. And so we got to make sure that we get those, because it's not just like you have a stack, right? You got to have all the size laid out. So when we're chatting for a minute, and then you go, oh yeah, can I get an extra large shirt and an extra large pair? And I'm a member, blah blah blah. Get an extra large pair of that too. And so we're trying to make lines efficient, because if you've seen us before, that line that's 100 plus people long takes you 45 minutes to get through, and we want to hopefully speed that line up for you and, basically eliminate downtime, maximize one-on-one time. Sending props to the warehouse crew. Order showed up on time and in great condition. Well done. Member only video. How many Aquarium Co-op shirts can one of you wear at once? That'd be funny, because it'd be like the Friends thing where you borrow my shirt, I'm wearing everything you own. Whatever that line is. All right, I've made it through 1 hour. My voice is kind of still here. I'm trying to think of anything else I need to do to not hold up the store. There's not a whole lot. We're really waiting on ginormous tank and other tanks. Yeah. Do the sweatpants accent the Irish wearers? I literally don't even know what that means. That's on a level I don't even know. Maybe that's why you're gonna need some relationship advice. Yeah. That's what it was. Yeah, Joey on Friends did it with no underwear. Yeah, for sure. By the way, who else is stoked? King of the Hill and Futurama coming back? Heck yeah. Looking for some questions. Maybe we're done. Maybe there's no more questions. Does Clear Fabrication ship out of state? As far as I know, yeah. I've seen them. They like crate it up. Like I saw them do like a $40,000 build. It included like all the sump plumbing. They had the canopy for the lights and everything. You could press a button and the canopy would lift and move. It was for a big saltwater build. So I've definitely seen them do some crazy high-end stuff. I'm sure they ship just like, oh, here's a 180-gallon tank and that kind of stuff. But do know that shipping is expensive. So a lot of people are like, whoa, like one pallet is like $700 to ship, and a big tank might be the space of 2 pallets, and all of a sudden you're like, $1,400 in shipping. The tank's only $2,200 or whatever. So it doesn't always make sense to ship. A lot of times it makes more sense if you really wanted a very high level build quality and attention to detail. Then, if money's no object type of thing, then sure. But if you just needed a 120-gallon tank, shipping price crazy. Could be crazy. I mean, for all I know, he's got a deal. Any recommendations for the first time fowler? So that's fish only with live rock for a saltwater tank. I've got some mangrove killifish coming, and I need to set up my tank before next week. Yeah, I looked that up because I don't know if you made that comment or someone else, but I looked up that mangrove killifish and I didn't really know anything about it. So I don't really have many good tips for you other than, you know, try to get it seeded well and hope for the best. Have you ever played the game called Auction Not Included? I have not. Any advice on growing plants, especially stems, in hard water? Nothing other than normal. Like, I'm growing some stem plants over in the fish room, and it's all the same to me when I had soft water. So, good lighting, good food. Do I know how much Murphy's new tank stand weighs? I don't. It has to be moved with a forklift, though. Well, we're going to use a lot of people because we can't drive a forklift through the door. I believe we're using hydraulic presses and not presses, hydraulic lifts and people is how we're going to get the tank and that stand through a 41.5-inch wide doorway when the tank itself is 38 inches and the stand's like 40 inches or something. So, yeah, at some point we'll be doing a bat signal call of like, all right, do you find yourself to be an able-bodied person? Do you want to help move this thing? All right, be here at this time and we will see. And those timelines get thrown out of whack. Like, oh, well, we had to wait there and to pick up the hydraulic lifts took X amount of time. Everybody go get lunch because we're going to kill 2 hours. So it's usually an all-day process to move in a tank like that. It's brutal. Is fluorite red with sand on top okay for my planted tank? I've got 6 plants from your website and easy green root tabs. Probably. Yeah, I don't think you'll run into too many problems there. Want to say a big thank you for supporting Vinny Color Guppies. It's amazing to see so much love and support from the fish fam community. Yeah, I'm kind of bobbing and weaving through different people's streams and that kind of stuff, and we'll help out where we can at random. I say that because if I just say like, oh, where we can, all of a sudden, there, 400 people emailing us like, well, I could use this and that. So, we don't promise anything, but we try to do some good here and there. How do I feel about auto dosers for large aquariums and ponds, like the Jabo? Yeah, I like them. And I have a video on using the Jabo one on the 800 gallon. In fact, I'm going to be filming putting another one on the 800 gallon because it needs it. I can't get enough fertilizer in there to really grow the plants yet. How's the wife planted tank? When will we get an update on that? That was at the previous house and is now the tank that Elmer lives in. And so there won't be any more updates other than the updates that were done previously. Raising, I'm guessing, not rising. Raising fancy goldfish fry. Yeah, okay. Didn't read enough of the sentence to. They have long stringy poop coming out of them, and it seems to be stuck on them. Should I start the med trio? I wouldn't start the med trio. It's unlikely they have too many things going on. Maybe they've got internal tapeworm, but if you raise those like from egg, highly unlikely. Could be just the food or, but if you were going to put some meds through, which I'm not sure you should here, what I would be doing is paracleanse. Any advice on repairing a 220 gallon? My advice is sell that to someone for a reptile and go buy a new one. And that will sound weird, but if it's a glass tank, to truly repair it, you're basically building an aquarium, which most people don't have the skill set to do. And for me, the amount of destruction that's caused if that thing was to fail, then like I'd rather get $250 from someone who's going to put their monitor or their giant snake in it or whatever, and then go buy that 220 and be like, it's $1,200. Like, yes, but you should get a very long life out of that tank and minimal risk. Can you fly on a plane with fish if I go to Aquashella? I believe you will be able to, and because nothing's ever guaranteed. You're still at the mercy of the pilot, but with some documentation, watch a couple videos, like maybe one from Zenzo where he flew with, I think he released that one, where he flew with fish. I think also Irene has done one, so a girl talks fish. But it can be done, but you're still technically at the mercy of the pilot. The pilot could say no. I haven't heard of that ever happening, but just know that I don't want to say yes, it somehow goes sideways for you, and you're like, you told me yes. There's always some risk associated with it. How many Odessa barbs for a 29-gallon planet tank? I would do like 8 is what I would do personally. Great looking fish, by the way. I have an Anubias caffolia that's 2 feet tall. What are the odds it will die off if I cut it back? I'm guessing it's more long than tall because it grows through a wire rhizome. I mean, I guess it could be growing like that, but usually you can make a cut on the rhizome and just separate it. If it's literally 2 feet tall leaves, cutting that will kill that leaf for sure. But I don't think that's what you're explaining there. So. Oh, the rhizome as thick as my thumb? Yeah, usually you can divide it. Usually. I have had times where I'm like, oh man, that didn't go so well, but usually it's okay. It's up to the TSA agent if it'll go through, but generally it can. Yeah, but the pilot still has the final authority. So that is your first hurdle of TSA agents, but you like even though the law will state you can do it, the airlines still leave it up to the pilot. The pilot can also just go, I don't like you, you can't be on this plane. They're kind of like a fire marshal in that way. Like whatever they say is what's going to happen. They've got that ultimate authority to do what they think is going to keep their passengers the safest. Like I said, I haven't heard of that actually happening, so I think that risk is very low. But just know when you know, if 50,000 people watch this, you're advising 50,000 people, and what if it's a 1 in 50,000 chance that it happens? I don't want to be the guy that like you said it would work and it won't. So just know that likely, yes. Unlikely, you could run into a snag. I also think there's a limit too. I think, well, I mean, that's just importing fish. Importing fish, usually it's 7. I don't know if there's an actual limit to fly with. I bet you there is, though. I bet you I can't show up with like a 40-gallon bag of water and 10,000 neon tetras, right? I'm sure there's some kind of requirements. If I buy $2,500 worth of zebra plecos and they don't let me on the plane, I'm leaving an Aquariumcoop a bad review. You joke, but that literally happens all the time. Like, people buy from other vendors. If I just happen to say a name and they have a bad experience, they will email and Candy will have to deal with it. I cannot believe you would recommend such a bad vendor. I can't believe. And it's like, I could recommend my favorite restaurant. You could go in and maybe they undercooked your hamburger. I couldn't believe you would recommend something so carelessly. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe they had a new cook. I don't tell you. Like I eat here all the time. Or I do, I use this merchant or whatever. The things we run into is like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it changed ownership. We put out that video 8 years ago. A good example is a bunch of people are having bad luck with, what was it? Guppy Train on Facebook. And it's been like 5 years since I bought from them. But people kept linking the video in guppy groups and then saying that they weren't, they either were getting bad fish or I don't even know what the problem exactly was. But they were saying like, I'm ruining the hobby because I'm leaving that video up. And it's like, but at some point, people have to know that there is risk on you. Like if I say this no problema cup that we bought at, I believe we got this at the, what do they call it? It's in Squim. It's like a place where you can drive through and look at animals like buffaloes and stuff super close. But if if I say like, I love this mug because I drink broth out of it. And 11 years from now you go there and you're like, man, now the handles always fall off. Like you're such an idiot. Like, yeah, but that's just, I can't predict the future that they would change production or something. I don't know. So there's always that element that people, the problem is people are angry when something happens, right? And then they're looking for someone to blame, and we're a real easy target because we're real receptive on customer service. You email the people you're angry at, they don't get back to you. Well, I'm gonna email the other people that talked about them, and then we go, oh yeah, that sucks. Sorry, we're not involved with them. Well, you shouldn't have a video on it. Like, but we do, and we're sorry that happened. Maybe something went wrong in shipping. Maybe, maybe, and there's no change in their mind because they're still upset in the moment. They've had a bad experience, and I get that. I've had bad experiences in my life. I know what that's like, but I also know that, if your buddy says, hey, I had a really good experience here, and you don't, it's not their fault. You might go, hey, I don't trust them as much, and by all means, don't trust us as much. That's fine. But, do know that we're not going to willingly mislead you. So it was never our intention to do that. 3 years and 3 days of membership, going strong, Justin. Well, thank you very much. The awkward silence. See, this is kind of where let me turn general chat back on. Like, what I mean by that is it's member only. It's going like too slow, so it's like the show is a little slow now. But it's gonna go nuts when I go, okay, subscribers. Let me see if I can do that. If I can do that on the fly. So if you're a subscriber and you're watching, you should be able to chat right now, in theory. Just opened up floodgates. Welcome, the loyal patriot. I will be getting several $100s in local fish store credit soon for my blue-eyed lemon plecos. Ooh, nice. How should I spend it? I have lemon tetras and glow lights in a 55-gallon. So what I don't know about you, Brad, are you like a breeder? Was this a one-time thing? Did you buy a bunch and then now you're bored of them and you're selling them back? For me, I really like spending it on like food, like high quality frozen foods and things like that at my local store. If you don't have a really good light, I find that's one of the best investments you can make. If you're just buying fish, that's fine too. I kind of like to use my credit to buy something that I might have otherwise struggled to do as well. So maybe that's a whole new setup down the road. So I guess what I'm trying to say is if you have a budget and you're like, hey, I can spend 30 bucks on fish, right? And you do that every month and that's how you're building your tank. Maybe I still keep doing that, but then I hold this $200 credit going, maybe when this tank gets full, I want to start at 29 and I want to keep some angelfish or whatever you're thinking, right? And that might be a really good base to start your next project. But without knowing more, it's really hard to go, here's how you should or shouldn't do it necessarily. How's it going, Mushu Waves 13? Hello. T-Dub says some of us low lives are still watching. That is just know that's not how I think about that at all. It's purely another method to control how fast chat is going. So, and it really does cut down on spammers, like ball pythons 9 said fish, 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 fish. So it does help with some of that stuff too. So, it's not purely like a money reason, which I'm sure it seems that way, but it's not. So know that. I got an import order of plecos arriving from Colombia tomorrow. Any acclimation suggestions? So I don't acclimate at all, where Dean does acclimate. I think you kind of, my honest recommendation would be, how do you treat fish that you get from the store, or most times, maybe do it that way. That being said, if you acclimate and there's a ton of ammonia in there, research what you might need to dose some prime in the bag and all of that. So I am a proponent of the plop and drop method. I've imported lots of fish over many, many years. I cut the top of the bag, I pour it into a net, I take that net of fish, I then place it into the water and I kind of let fish swim out of it. Like when I'm importing lots of fish, if there's 500 neon tetras in there might be 4 dead, right? And instead of releasing them all and then having to fish them back out, I kind of let a bunch of them swim out so that I'm left with 4 in the net, and I can kind of remove that and dispose of those and put that net off to the side, grab a new net, do the next bag of fish. Do you have to quarantine plants before introducing to a tank? I don't. However, if you were being super duper protective of your fish, it wouldn't hurt you to do that. I've never had a problem not doing that though. So that's that whole, we could always be safer, we could always be more cautious in about everything we can do, but does it make sense? I answered this on a different, hot in here today. How hot is it? Oh, my thing's not working. Let's see if I can get it to work. I answered that on a, turn on. This thing needs to turn on a member-only show on how I deal with burnout. And essentially, the TLDR of it, there we go. It's 83 degrees in my fish room right now. Wait, right here. That's why it gets a little hot. And I got lights on me. So you can see, like, this light right here is on me. So adding lights plus, oh, come on. Lights plus already being hot in here makes for a sweaty back. That's why I'm, like, constantly adjusting of, like, ugh. And I'm in a leather chair. Anyway. The TLDR of it is get out of the hobby. But what I mean by that is slim down. If you got 8 tanks, keep 2. Keep basically removing until the joy comes back. If you get all the way to 0 tanks and there's no joy, maybe this isn't for you. And that's okay. Sometimes you have to get away from it to miss it, right? And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm not burned out, but I'm overwhelmed. I'm not getting, like, the 800 gallon doesn't look as good as I want because I got to spend time feeding 40 totes and doing this and doing that, right? And so if I slim down, naturally I would get more time to spend on fewer tanks, which might increase my enjoyment level. I'm also considering just a 5 gallon on my desk. Not just, like, I'm not going to get rid of everything and just have that, but I'm saying that may be drastically different than your 125 gallon African cichlid tank. I don't know what you have, obviously, but switching it up and changing it up, and maybe you know, make a list of pros and cons. And maybe you go, I like looking at the fish sometimes. Pro. Don't like changing water. Don't like feeding. Don't like this. Don't like that. Don't like cleaning the filters. Don't like this. Don't like that. And then go, well, okay, I could put an auto feeder on there. I could keep very few fish, so I wouldn't have to change water, really. And, oh, I don't like turning the light on. I could put that on a timer. All right. And what if you could eliminate most of the things you're not enjoying and leave the things you are enjoying? That might be enough to fix it. You know, some of the things that really kill the hobby for me, having my fish in a different building. Having a fish tank in my bedroom, I love it. I haven't had one for a very long time, but I love falling asleep and just, like, or waking up and just going, what is that fish doing? That's weird. That is an entirely different experience than a building dedicated to fish, or my fish store, or the warehouse, right? And so changing it up is what I recommend. And that went from a TLDR to like a dang near full explanation. I bought a pair of Goodyids that fought nonstop for 2 days. I now have them divided into and added 5 more juveniles to the male side. The female is still mad though. Do I have any tips for reintroduction? Lots of plants. Make sure they're like, that they could hide and not see each other. So a well-planted tank or lots of fake plastic plants, whatever's going to give cover so they don't have to look at each other. And then over time, hopefully, they lessen the aggression that's there. You could also try introducing another fish as well to help break up the aggression. All right, that's it. I got to roll up the sweatpants. It is too warm. Ugh. There we go. Sweatpants rolled up, or pulled up. I haven't watched in a while, but just want to say thanks for all you do. You're such a wealth of knowledge. From Syracuse, New York. Well, thank you, Candace. And welcome back, I suppose, since you haven't watched in a while. Have I ever been to Ireland? I haven't. I definitely want to go, but I haven't been. Speaking of changing it up, we've got another relationship question. Sarah Snail Catcher keeps catching some fish. Any tips? We haven't sold those in a long time, but from what I remember, there should be a way to change the openings, right? Like, I don't remember if they had different, yeah, it's like pegs, right? And you could put more pegs in so it became narrower. The problem you might run into is, do you have such small fish that it'd have to get so narrow that the snails could no longer make it in? Is that the problem you're running into? Ball pythons, you're sad I called you a spammer? Then don't be a spammer. I mean, I guess you could be that person in real life that walks into a room with like other fish people and you fish, 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 and you all kind of go, oh, it's that guy. Eesh. You could be that guy, but I recommend not being that. Or girl, by the way. You could be that person. I recommend don't be that person. Try to work your way into a conversation, see what's going on, and maybe like, oh, they're talking about rainbow fish right now. Okay, let me weigh in on that. Good neon rainbow fish tank mates for a planted 55. So you've got like dwarf neon blue rainbows probably. I like Congo tetras. I would equip myself with some Congo tetras and some Sterbai Corydoras. Any brackish water advice? Yes. Choose saltwater or freshwater. Brackish, you're gonna pioneer into the realm of the you gotta try it, I guess. I don't know. You'll run into people that are brackish water experts that somehow their knowledge never works for you. You'll find a lot of people that are like, I don't know, you just gotta try it, and that's kind of the camp I'm in. And then every once in a while you'll see like an exhibit at a zoo that blows your mind, but struggle to replicate. I wish maybe, no, that's not even, I was gonna say maybe the person was asking like what to do on YouTube, do brackish water, but there's not enough people that like brackish water to really make your way in that game. But you'd be doing a huge community service if you actually could relay the information that was successful for lots of people. So. Got a Cardinal Tetra sticker with my Easy Green from Canada. Any update on Canadian orders? Still caught in the developer world of like, don't worry, we're working on it. Randy is at a point where he literally pings them in their software every single day and asks for an update. Because all they ever say is working on it. And there's nothing more frustrating like working on it like 6 months from now, working on it like next week, working on it like never. Like, you got anything besides working on it? What websites do I recommend for purchasing a hairy puffer? And what would you feed one? They're kind of predatory. I would try to get them on something like krill, like freeze-dried krill, because you can mix that with other foods. It's really smelly. And maybe get them on, it's really hard to get them on dry, but I would be trying not to feed them live foods, basically. As far as purchasing it, I would probably try to track one down at the Cichlid Exchange or the Wet Spot online. Same company. One's wholesale or online versus the retail part of it. I would probably try to track one down there is where I would point you towards. Free to Play says there were major issues in the 2021 Aquashella Texas Shrimp Contest. The Best of Show award was proof that our judging system was not ready. Yeah, I don't know. I only kind of got feedback and I viewed it because the problem with being at a show is I'm stuck in a booth 99% of the time. So I don't get a lot of outside time. But from what I heard, yeah, it was kind of needed, and it was like, maybe it was the first time or whatever. It needed more polish. That's all I know. It's like, yep, could have been done better from what people were saying. What's a puffer that's not a pea puffer that doesn't get too big? Congo puffer. Man, I haven't talked about them in so long that I'm like dropping their scientific name. Come on, brain, you can do this. Come on, brain. I can't do it. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I didn't sleep well last night or what. Why? Because it's not the Congo puffer that's going to be like more of a. Okay, I'm just going to Google it. Yeah, it's not the Murius, the orange. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not, but Shodenai. Good Lord. Man, sometimes my brain just literally becomes mush. I said that word probably the year before last, probably like 2,000 times, and then last year probably none, and none this time. Yeah, I don't know why I'm tired either. That's the weird part. Is I didn't. I mean, I worked all day, so there's that. But I don't think I did anything extra. It could just be I'm just not catching up like I should. Sumps shouldn't be loud. That's a true statement. Most sumps tuned correctly, not even set up correctly, but tuned correctly, should run. Well, not necessarily should. Could run nearly silent. You can set them up to be crazy loud. That's a thing too. But yeah. The snail catcher has all the pegs in it, but baby fish and panacories keep sneaking in. Yeah, with baby fish and all of that, you're gonna struggle with that snail catcher. At a certain point, if snails and other stuff are smaller than, or not snails, if the fish and other stuff are smaller than the snails, you can't really make a filtering trap like that. What I do a lot of times then is I'll put things like green beans in the tank, let all the snails pile on, just reach in with my hand, and then I feed them to puffers or my turtles is what I do. Will I be speaking at any events this year? If I can help it, no. I don't want to speak. Speaking in person to a group of people is worse than doing this, partially because microphones are never that good at these events. So that actually is another critique that I'm going to be. I asked for better acoustic equipment this year. I'm really hoping it is improved because basically every show I watch, it's an afterthought of like, the thing, like, oh, it's crackling, try another one. Oh, that one's not working so well either. Like, one of the most important parts to giving a talk is having good microphone and acoustics so people can hear in the back and all of this. And so that's part of it. And two, like, I would rather be me and a small group of people talking about what you want to talk about, or one-on-one or whatever it is. If I'm going to put the energy to give a talk, right? Why wouldn't I just make that a good video and you can watch it at your leisure, rewatch it, take notes, do all these things? And so if I am going to do something in person, my brain goes to, well, what can I do in person that I cannot do online or in a video or pre-recorded format? And the only thing I've come up with so far is something like a game show. And so we're going to be attempting that because I can't pre-record a game show because I need an audience. You need an audience and participation to make this work, right? So if that's a requirement, let's lean into, what do I need an audience to do? Let's do things that require that, as opposed to, well, Corey sat in front of a bunch of people and basically did a live stream and could have worn my pajamas, eaten a Snickers, and laid on the couch with the dog to watch that. And that's just a better time than like kind of an uncomfortable seat, sitting next to someone you don't know. Like, let's try to break that mold. And so that's why I'll be trying not to do speaking events. Is I don't think it's the best use of time when I could film it. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense, because the goal would be, if the goal is truly education or entertainment, I think I can do that better in a pre-recorded format. except for a game show. Or something else someone else thinks of that I go, ooh yeah, we should try that. Is there a chance of you ever shipping fish online? Most likely not. There's no good reason for us to get into that, so unlikely. There's Chattanooga Ed. He's part of the Aquashella crew making things happen. If you have questions, ask Chattanooga Ed. He's in charge of live streaming it the whole weekend, I think. It's not a job I'm envious of. Have I heard about the America Competes Act HR 4521 and how it affects the pet hobby? I have, Janella. I did a live stream on it last week with some of the thoughts, and then I also put out a member video that's like 30 minutes long or something about it as well. New information has been released. More people have released more of their opinions. I personally believe that anyone who's in these YouTube circles has heard more than they probably want to hear about it, and they have chose to take action or not at this point. And now we're kind of waiting to see, does this pass? Does it die because it's just part of a much bigger thing? And then if it does pass, we'll be waiting for, okay, well, let's see what some of the definitions become. Yeah, it's I don't think that, I personally don't believe this will be the last we even hear about it. Like, it's been an ongoing fight for 10 plus years at least. So even if it passes or don't pass, this isn't the last time we'll talk about it. And so people that have been around the hobby for a while, they'll know, like, this is just another round, and each round it could pass or fail. But even when that happens, like, oh, it passed, now there could be challenges, now there could be this, you know, it's going to be an ongoing kind of thing. And so I try to take a very even-keeled approach of going, well, you roll with the punches, you give your input, you think about it, you hope for the best, and you know. Check U.S. ARC for information to email your senators. That's about the only thing I do disagree with. I did include that link, but I do think that people should not use talking points that are printed on the internet. Literally, one of the talking points is, it's un-American. I just don't think that's a good talking point when trying to sway someone, right? You should give me $1 million. No, why not? It's un-American. What does that mean? Like, there's not a good definition of what is and isn't American. So it's kind of this, like, it's a sidestep thing, right? Because I said so. Well, that doesn't explain anything. And so the only thing I would really encourage people, that if you're going to talk to a senator, have a coherent thought process. Like, one of the comments on the video from last week, or was it last week? I think it was last week, was, I'm so angry, I'm almost done building my lion enclosure. I'm going to talk to my senator. To me, that's the person we probably don't want talking to our senator, because that's going to, I'm not sure if this is the right word, but it makes me sound fancy. That's going to conflate the issue. Let me see. I gotta Google that. That sounds, what's the definition of conflate? Combine two or more texts or ideas into one. Yeah, I think conflate might be applicable there. So what if that senator focuses on, like, well, yeah, we exactly don't want this guy to be building a lion enclosure in his backyard to keep a lion. Yes, we should pass this bill. With, I do think it's different that, keeping fish as a hobby is different than keeping lions as a hobby. I do think one poses different risks. And I also think that it has the ability to potentially change the conversation than the conversation you want to be having. So my original point was, if you're going to contact someone, have your own talking points so they're not just getting, well, okay, yes, I've seen this 37 times and I disregard it 37 times. If you get the chance to have a conversation with someone, you have your own voice to sway them into the side that you think, whether you're pro or against it, by the way. You have that opportunity. And when typically when you're reciting something else that you have, like a talking point, most people won't fully understand where it comes from. And so if they probe back with questions, you may not be able to field them. But if you come with your own opinion, you will have a chance to have that dialogue, and maybe it does change that person's opinion. And so I think it's important to not send blanket letters and instead give your own opinion. That's what I believe. So moving on, because I don't want to talk about that anymore because it's been talked to death. I'm going to open a freshwater aquarium gallery / fish store. Going to be next level here in MD. I wish you luck. That, like an aquarium gallery, the closest thing I've seen to an aquarium gallery / fish store would be Green Aqua in Budapest. I don't think we'll ever see something like that make it in America. Maybe not right now, I'm saying, because the entire thing could change in 10 years, right? So like the whole landscape could change. But I think right now, I don't think that the gallery concept, if you will resonate as well with Americans currently. And you'll probably end up going, oh yeah, fish store works though. People want to buy stuff like that. So I do wish you luck though, because if it's super cool, I want to come visit and film and hang out and look at fish, because that's what hobbyists like to do. Me too. Any advice to get rid of gnat-like flies that are spawning inside my built-in filter in my 120? The only thing I can think of would be flood it. So what does that mean? That means you turn off all the filtration, all of that, and fill it all the way to that brim where it's just like, if you put your hand in it, it would overflow, and let it sit there for 10, 20, 30 minutes, however long you can let it sit there and kind of be near it, right? That is likely to drown as much of the stuff as it could happen. And then go ahead and bring that level down, let it run, and hopefully that'll put a hurting on that population. That's the only really tangible advice I think I could try. That's what I would try, flooding it. And by flooding it means going right to the brim, not actually flooding your house, obviously. Elizabeth said it well. When contacting anyone, political or not, I like that. Don't threaten. Be polite. Be coherent. Yeah, I genuinely think you get points better across with anybody by coming across calm, having your talking points, being able to talk through something. You can change people's minds with threats and things like that, but it's under duress, and that's usually not a long-term solution. So, I mean, sometimes it is. Like sometimes it's forced to be long-term, but I like to hope we can live in a world where a calm discussion could happen and lead to thoughts, I guess. Do you think ADA high-tech stores will take off in the U.S. because one opened up in my town and I don't know how they'll do? I don't. Not in the current landscape. Doesn't mean it wouldn't happen in the future, but right now it hasn't. And a lot of the stores that we see try it, they don't end up thriving based on the ADA part. They thrive based on they're a fish store, right? So to me, the way I look at it is, let's say I'm Aquariumcoop and I sell fish and I sell plants and all that, and I could bring on high-tech ADA $1,200 canister filters, rimless tanks, and all that. And maybe 1% of our sales goes to that. I'm probably more successful bringing in dog clothing. 2% of our revenue might be dog leashes and dog clothing. So I really think right now, until there's a big shift in consumer what they want, it doesn't make sense to be a seller of that, right? So for instance, there are some people that are going to buy Ferraris and Lamborghinis and everything, but if tomorrow, if I was opening up a car dealership, it wouldn't be one of those. It would be like, if I could have my choice, probably like Toyota or Honda or Subaru or Ford, right? Ford trucks, #1 sold truck. Like, pick something that you already know is being consumed and is already a winning formula, where ADA is a working formula in other countries. But for instance, other cars in other countries that come to the US usually don't make it. Some do, but most of them don't make it. The concepts don't keep going long term. And it's because another great example I think of this is in America, most of us know what Target is, or Target, right? You go, oh yeah, it's just, it's store. You can go there. Some of them have groceries. There are lots of house stuff. Like, yeah, it's a Target. And they're like everywhere in America. But they tried and failed horribly to launch into Canada. Same exact store, just right across the border, but Canadians didn't really know what it was, and it didn't have the right time and the right launch and all of that. So even though it's a working thing in a different country, doesn't mean that it will plug straight into another country and everyone will just adopt it, right? And so that can get a lot of people to have some failed dreams of like, oh, I'm going to open up an ADA store, and they invest all the money, and then I don't get it. It was so successful here or there. That doesn't mean it will always be successful where you put it, though. And so that's, part of that location. But on a bigger scale, it's like tissue culture plants. On paper, they should totally make sense. But when you're buying them and trying to sell them, somehow it doesn't make sense. And look at it. Like, we've seen lots of YouTubers try to do it. We've seen lots of online stores try to do it. We see new people pick it up and drop it. But there's nowhere that really is killing it with tissue culture plants. And it should, though. It should just be like, yep, it's a thing. People love it, blah, blah, blah. There you go. Will Aquariumcoop get bigger? Maybe open up a store in another state? No. I talked about that in a blog of whatever one of the days was where we were like having to have a lock swapped out, and there was a leak in this building. And basically, the more buildings that you're responsible for, the more, if 1 out of 365 days you have a problem with plumbing, let's say. Well, if you have 5 buildings, so it's like, okay, we have this building that we're in right now. We have the retail store. Technically, we have the break room. We have the expansion retail store, right? We have the warehouse. So that's 5 kind of problems. 5 toilets. Well, guess what? 5 times out of 365, they're going to get plugged. You might have one that has a leak. You might have, the toilet seat broke. The locks. And the more you keep adding to that, the more you're constantly chasing down these maintenance type items. And we do have, Joel does maintenance and all of that, but all of that takes away from the quality of your day-to-day output. And at a retail store, that's one-on-one with customers, making sure the fish are healthy, making sure the plants are healthy, making sure we're well stocked, all of those things. Are you in the new club? I must be talking to someone else. Let's see, we got like 5 minutes. Okay, gotta go out with a bang here. Any advice for a plant tank nerd starting his first African cichlid? Any common pitfalls to avoid? I'm looking at shell dwellers. Shell dwellers are pretty easy. You end up using things like anubias and java ferns attached to rocks. I don't think there's really too many pitfalls when it comes to African cichlids. The information's kind of out there. I think the pipe dream of male-only African cichlid show tanks take a lot of work and aren't necessarily easier to maintain than males and female tanks. So that might be the one pitfall I would see out there, but it's going to be enjoyable. You get lots of beautiful fish, and it's different, so you'll enjoy the differentness of it, all of that. Will I be bringing anything to sell in Orlando? No. There's another thing that I kind of think that more show organizers and people should watch out for, but technically anyone selling in Orlando should be pulling, well, I don't know this 100%, so my accountants and all of that, tax accountants, full-time accountants, most of the places that I would want to visit and be at a show, if we were to sell anything, we're supposed to pull a business permit there, we need to collect taxes there, we need to remit those taxes. There's a bunch of things that we would need to be doing. By not selling there, we avoid all of that. So that's why we don't sell at any show we go to, because we don't want all those implications to start up. And maybe, maybe everyone's doing that, but for when I talk to people, half of them aren't even, they're paying their employees under the table and aren't even doing that. So I can't imagine they're pulling permits to sell stuff in another state when they show up to a show. So, but yeah, we won't be selling anything. You can buy it online, get it shipped in. Plus, even if we could, right? The problem is there that it becomes like, okay, we're investing a lot of money to ship stuff there that may or may not sell. How many test strips do you bring? 50 packs? Oh, we only sold 12. Or, oh, we could have sold 100, and you got to do that for how many different items? And so it's a lot easier to go, you can order online though, and it'll be at your house in like 2 to 3 days. Real easy. Why doesn't Aquahuna ship to Washington customers? Do I know? I do. Because if they ship to Washington, their primary business, so where they make the most of their money, is actually wholesaling to stores in Washington state. If you retail to all of those stores' customers, you're undermining those businesses. Likely a lot of them would stop buying from you, and thus you're going to lose your main income source to another one. Maybe it replaces it, but by not selling in Washington, they keep all of their current customers happy, which is the stores that buy in big quantities, and they still can sell to the rest of the United States, and they're kind of getting the best of both worlds. It just so happens to be that you're unlucky in that you live in Washington, so they won't ship to you, but you are lucky in that you could drive to Aquariumcoop or another store that is buying from them, and you'll be able to purchase those fish, ideally being quarantined, and pick out specimens and all of that. You will, you will pay more money, but hopefully you're getting the benefit from that as well. Let's see, that is very true. There's a section, is very pricey, but the rimless tanks they're going are amazing. So you're probably talking about ADA. Again, I'm the weirdo that doesn't like ADA tanks. I like to have a tank lid. I like having the black rim so that I don't see the water line. I'm that weirdo that actually likes a rimmed tank, which I'm the oddball. But yeah, they're also more expensive. And it's not that I haven't ever seen a really good display. I just know what a good display looks like, and then a good display in my care of like, oh, well, you got hard water, you got to scrape that down. Oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. You got to make sure that water level is just right because it's going to evaporate really fast, and you don't want that looking bad. And oh, the lily pipes, you got to clean those because they build up algae a lot. And don't get me wrong, it looks amazing, but there's also I love looking at that, not taking care of that, and that's why I don't typically use that stuff. As a pet store owner, you are so inspiring. How do you stay motivated to keep going when you feel burnt out? Just had a baby and lost my 6-year-old doggy best friend. The struggle is real. I think you got to put everything in perspective, Lisa. And so what I mean by that is you could have another job. Let's say you don't own a pet store, right? And you're working from somewhere, and you could have the stress of a boss making you meet a deadline. And the problem is you still would have just had a baby, and you still would have just lost your 6-year-old doggy best friend, right? So I try to go, okay, well, I could have a different job. Would it be more or less stress? Usually it just changes the stress. If I don't want to work at all tomorrow, I won't. But then I'll have a ton of work to do on Thursday, and that's going to be stressful, right? so you're making all these little trade-offs. The goal, hopefully, is that you become profitable, right? And if you're in year 5 or whatever it is and you're not profitable, chances are it probably will be less stress to work for someone else. You have to kind of constantly evaluate that, and that's why I always maintain that we do everything for profit. Even though we do a lot of philanthropy, we do a lot of giveaway, we try to help a lot of people, but at the end of the day, if we're not making money, none of that's possible. And so the general mantra we have is don't do anything that won't make you money. Now, giving away $15,000 in shirts seemingly doesn't make you money, but the reality is it will make us money on a long plane of time. People are wearing those shirts, we're getting a little bit of advertising, we build better community. Those people that got a free shirt are likely to spend more money on our website, and on a grand scale of things, hopefully it becomes and stays profitable. But, you know, the reality is sometimes burnout is real, and the burnout is because maybe you're not profitable. Maybe you've got a toxic work environment. Maybe, you know, the times that we've ever had to let an employee go, the stress of firing someone is insane for me. It is my most hated thing ever. And so I tried to get away from that as fast as I could. If we ever have to let someone go, we have other managers to do it now. And it's not easy on them, and I fully sympathize, and I hate doing it so much. I tend to give people 101 chances. But that literally would, like, you know, I didn't have an ulcer, but it feels like if I keep this up, like I'm going to get an ulcer. Like, this stress level's too much. And I don't have kids. I can only imagine what a life-changing experience that is. I have lost dogs before, and that is really hard also. But my advice is evaluate it, because you might find that, like, you know what? And I do that too. I'm like, you know what? I do have an amazing job. I get so many opportunities. I pay for my living. I get to travel the world. And not everyone gets that, and I totally get that. But also rewind. You know, 5 years ago, I was in a store all the time, and I love that. I love being one-on-one with people, but you might be in a position where I'm stuck in an office all day. Okay, we'll figure out how do you get back out on the floor, be one-on-one. Or maybe you're in that position, you hate that. Well, how do you get out of that position? Find the parts that you do love and work on those. It's no different than keeping aquariums. You're not having fun anymore? Start paring down. Start changing it. See if that spark is still there. And know that it's okay if the spark isn't there. The old fish store that I used to work at before I ever opened my own, the person was burnt out. They had been doing it. Their store had been open for like 20 years, right? I'm only in year like 9, open for 20 years. They were pretty much burnt out. No fish were exciting them, and all of that. And I think ultimately that's what led to the failure long term, was losing the passion for it. And so, you know, there's probably a point where turning it over to someone else or whatever, and maybe you get, you know, maybe it's new employees, maybe it's a new facelift, not like an actual facelift, but like a facelift on the store. Like, I don't know what the thing that's going to do it for you will be, and maybe there is nothing. However, taking a good look at it, pros and cons, what do you like, what do you don't like, how many, you know, again, oh, you don't like that? Work on ways to get rid of it. Some, you know, there's going to be, you know, like, oh, I don't want to work ever. Like, okay, well, that's going to be pretty hard to get rid of. But, you know, what is it about the working that you don't like? Is it you don't like the hours? Is it you don't like the days of the week? Is it the people you work with you don't like? What parts are causing the extra stress? How can you minimize those and focus on putting yourself in the place you do like? So it's not an easy business. Well, being self-employed or your own boss is not easy in general, and not everyone's cut out for it, by the way. I don't think I'm an exceptionally good manager. I'm really good at giving positive feedback and things like that. So I try to get people that do that better than I do. And but you're not always at that level. So being a hiring manager is hard, and this job market is tough, so competitive. Listed a current open position 3 times, hoping to find the right person this time. Yeah, it can be difficult out there. I mean, we're basically paying money and benefits and stuff like that. Our starting wage, we've hired 2 people in the last month, I think. And Yeah, I think 2. I think that's right. And our starting wage is $22 an hour, which it's not $1 million, but it's not nothing. And it's we feel that one, inflation's been kind of crazy and all of that, but then two, we want to make sure that we're trying to get some of the, I guess, more talented people. I don't know how else to put it. Like in general, the more money you're offering, the more things become a possibility. Like if I was offering $500 an hour, most of you all of a sudden could go, well, all of a sudden my dream of working at a fish store maybe becomes viable. But the reality is someone who could be super passionate about fish can't necessarily leave their job if they're making $200K a year at another job they hate. They might have, a mortgage and all these other things preventing that. So, and they might have to support an entire family. Maybe they have 5 kids and they're all in college right now, and this and that and this and that. And so it's impossible. But the more money that you can put towards a position, the more candidates open up, and hopefully the better chance you have at making the right hire. Because I could have everybody in the world who wants to work for me, and I could still choose wrong every time. So there's still very much that. And like Robert is very good at kind of sizing people up and managing people, and he's got skills that I don't have for sure. And so he's very good at that, and he's now in charge of that for the warehouse, so that's good. He was in charge of that for the store, and hopefully he's passing those skill sets along. All right, it's after 7. My voice is already dying. I need to get some more to drink. Thanks everybody for hanging out. Thanks for becoming a new member. I don't know if I will be live next Tuesday. I'm supposed to be moving my mother. But if I'm done soon enough, or I can schedule it so I will, or maybe I'll do it a little bit later or a different day. I also gotta, fly out that week, so there's kind of a short week for me anyway, so I'll see what I can get done. And then, I think I'm seeing that there's more and more business owners kind of following me, or I'm cluing into it. Could be the exact same number. I'm considering building either a whole channel dedicated to the business side of fish, where it would be a membership style thing. So like on YouTube, and maybe it's $100 a month, but we might be able to do more videos dedicated specifically to real integral parts. And we want it so that it's gate kept, which normally I don't want to gatekeep anything, but we wouldn't want the general public to know, like, oh, here's the wholesalers to buy from. Here's this trick to make, oh, you can sell this fish and make 6 times your money, right? Because if the general public knows that, then they're going to be like, you guys are being unfair. But they don't see the side of like, oh, but you're losing money with every feeder fish you ever sell, right? And that at the end of the day, something had to pay rent and insurance and all of these other things. But I do think we've learned things. And, so if I ever put that program together, I'll let you guys know. And I thought about doing it only for our wholesale people. If we keep moving forward with wholesale, of like, not only buying from us can you sell our products, but here's what I've found to be the best way to move this fish and the best way to handle this type of customer. And, what kind of email should you be doing, and what do we find that works best? And, but at the same time, we could be educating all of our competitors, and does that put us out of business? I don't know. So we'll see if that ever comes to fruition. And, so thanks for hanging out, everybody. Thanks for supporting us in what we do. And hopefully we'll be around next week to do it all again. So let me close that out. Let me find the button, and then find something to quench my thirst. Bye-bye, everybody. See you next week.